Here's some more Hitler-like fool's logic that some of the wealthy and more privileged people like to push on to the disabled. So, I've had some people really discriminate and really get me hurt. Like, oh, you can't be disabled because you are playing video games, so you can't be disabled. Something like that. But here's why that's fool's logic. I'm going to tell you how it really goes for disabled people. Now, I went to a school for the disabled. I have lots of disabled friends, one of which, David, in high school, was Asperger's, and on top of that, he had the screaming one, what's called, he has tics, he has seizures, he screams uncontrollably. So, he had Asperger's and Tourette's. Now, he was big in the video games, but flashing lights in video games and movies and screens can cause him to have a seizure on the ground. So what did David do? Play video games, because that's the one thing he's not supposed to do. Well, how could he do such a thing? How could he play video games if he has Asperger's and Tourette's? And by the way, this is the most normal kid you ever saw. If you met David in the trailer park, you would think he was a normal kid. But he has uncontrollable spasms, he makes noises, he also can't really play video games for too long, even though that's his thing. David loved his video games, always talking about them, bringing in magazines. His mother would say, you're playing too much video games. The teachers would even mention, well, you just played 3 hours last night, your mother said, so you're not allowed to get out of class. Whenever he was having a tough day, he wouldn't push through it. He wouldn't want to go home. But the thing is that when he had a tough day, he can't play video games even if he wanted to. Well, that's how this works. If your disability, like for me, was say that it's cold out and it's nighttime and cars are driving by, I am not going to be able to play a video game on my phone. I'll be lucky if I can make a phone call on my phone. So that's where this becomes important to understand. I can play video games, but lights bother me. So if I'm having a tough day where I'm shaking a lot, I can't play video games that day. But if I'm indoors, I'm still, the lights are down, there's not much going on, I might be able to play 30 minutes of video games. But as soon as I start twitching and not being able to talk, as soon as I feel like I'm getting tased and the voltage is going up, I have to have the sense to stop playing video games and stop what I'm doing. Well, that's no big deal. Stopping playing video games is easy. Starting and stopping that, you just put it down and look away. I'll tell you what's harder. Let's say I'm going to work. I'm halfway to work. The lights are bothering me from the traffic coming my way in both directions. It's cold out. How do I stop that? You don't. You have a seizure and the ambulance picks you up off the side of the road. That's if you're lucky. You might even be left on the side of the road for the night. That's what happens to me a lot of times. I'm just left there. Unless I'm in a public downtown area where things usually go a little better. So, fool's logic. Just because somebody has Tourette's and because somebody has Asperger's and seizures, like David had in high school, he plays more video games than any other kid in my high school, yet he's the least person that should be playing them. Why? Because his doctor has figured out, well, you just have to stop playing if it gets bad. Same thing in my aspect. The hard part is when somebody is forcing you to hurt yourself for money. That is when we get ourselves into trouble. When parents are having us do stuff that could get us killed. When they're giving us drugs that could shut down our organs. When we're going to work and we've had a seizure on the side of the road, but if we don't continue going to work, we lose our apartment. That is when the real danger comes in hand. Not when you're playing a video game at home in the dark. If things get bad then, you put the fucker down. You start feeling it in your back, oh, I better not do this, and you put it down. It's no different than a hot stove. You start putting your hand towards it, you realize it's hot. Oh, I didn't know I left that on, and you don't touch it. But see, if you are on the way to work, you are not allowed to drive for a disability like mine or David's from high school, and you need to make a living. That's a different. They might have you die to keep commerce moving in this country. The disabled are really what's keeping this country running. The next time you're in the low, like at the grocer, at the gas station, looking at the drivers who are driving the truck, look to see if they're overweight. See if they have a cast on their foot. See if they seem disabled. See if they have anxiety. See if they're taking medication. And you'll be surprised that most, at least half of the people I'm seeing at the bottom at Walgreens always has somebody working that's missing a foot or has some severe disabilities that should be on Social Security. The gas stations always have somebody who needs to be on Social Security. The grocers always have somebody who needs to be on Social Security. And when you talk to them, a lot of times you'll hear them saying, well, I've applied for 7 years. At first I was missing my toes and I applied and they denied me. Then I was missing my foot and they denied me. Then I went on medical leave out of work for about a year and they're still denying me, but then they had me go back to work. You'll hear stories like that all the time from the disabled. Why? Because rich little, prempy little bullshit people who have never had a hard day in their life, like people like me. I was working in a cold basement. I literally was having my neurological disorder. I am not able to eat, so I haven't eaten properly in 3 days. I haven't been sleeping good. I'm sleeping on a floor of somebody's apartment, and I'm chopping up a frickin' basement floor so they can pour new cement down. Meanwhile, my muscles and my whole body shakes. But yet, I get just as much done as anybody else. People don't do that except for the disabled who have learned how to push through their disabilities. But you'll have preppy people go, well, he's playing video games, so he's just a bullshit. No, no, no. He can do everything. He's Superman. But my little preppy child over here, he needs to be really pampered. Yeah. He needs to have a CEO job. Yeah. Oh, we can't have him doing any tough work because he is a good boy who went to college. We can't have him homeless. No. But what has he done for the community? Has he really done anything? Well, he went to art school. Well, why should he be at the top? The problem is the hard work ethic doesn't matter. It's not what you know, it's who you know. It's not how many hours you put in. You can put in 100 hours working for Marbury Oil, and you will be in the same place 20 years later. But I'll tell you what, the CEO who was working for the big corporation, Marbury Oil, he'll be making record profits. Just look at the payment. In 1955, the average paycheck was about $100 a week. $100 a week. It may be $80 a week, $100 a week. That is in the 1950s. An ice cream driver, $100 a week. Okay, that's not bad. What is that adjusted for inflation today? $2,000 a week. The average at the bottom was about anywhere from $50 to $100 a week. That is 2,000. That's 1,000 to 2,000 a week today. Nobody is making those wages today. All that money has been shifted to the top. The ice cream companies back in 1950 were making less than they're making today. And the ice cream drivers in 1950 were making more than they're making today. But now in 2024, the CEOs of the ice cream company are making record profits, and the ice cream drivers are barely making it by. They have a second job. Yes, the ice cream driver working 50 hours for the ice cream company has a night job working another 20 or so hours on weekends just so he can feed his family. Oh, and his wife works part-time. And that's just so they can have a shitty mortgage. They still are having issues paying the electric bill.